They send their imagination on a journey ahead of this world, and then it comes back and it reports in that this is possible, this is possible, this is possible. And what it is like, it's like the imagination is able to ascend to virgin soil, virgin creative soil, in a world that anything can happen, anything can be created. The endlessness, of what is possible. And I think therein lies a key of understanding what it is to have the visionary archetype. Hi everybody, it's time for another archetype video, and I am hoping my dog is going to behave herself. That's Poppy. Anyway, so if you hear barking in the background, you know what's going on. So the archetype I've decided to explore today with you is the visionary, spread out a little bit. You know, archetypes spill into other archetypes, they blend. So the visionary, for example, needs something like the visionary entrepreneur, or the visionary pioneer, or the visionary explorer. And then there's the pure spiritual visionary, the person who had true visions, which we'll get to in a second. But the visionary is, just as a general statement, what it means to be able to envision, to see what others can't see, or haven't been able to, or can't imagine. And that's the most important part, I think, about this discussion, is what is that faculty in us that some people have and others don't? That some people have the capacity to envision what, like, as if they send their imagination on a journey ahead of this world, and then it comes back and it reports in that this is possible, this is possible, this is possible. And what it is like, it's like the imagination is able to ascend to virgin soil, virgin creative soil, in a world that anything can happen, anything can be created. The endlessness, of what is possible. And I think therein lies a key of understanding what it is to have the visionary archetype. There is no limits to how the visionary imagines what could be, which brings us to people who are not visionaries, and what's that about, right? And I think that one of the gifts of the visionary archetype is that they're not weighted down by the illusions of what has always been and that it still has to be the same. They're not afraid to initiate change. In fact, they want to bring it on. They want to initiate change. They want to see what the next possibility can be if we released this idea. If, for example, is it possible, like electricity, that electricity can replace candles? Is it possible that there's some way to capture the electricity in lightning that eventually became Ben Franklin's inspiration, that there must be a way to capture these kinds of powers, these kinds of this energy in the universe? And I think of the visionaries that I feel like we're living at a time that is particularly ripe for visionaries. And I say that because we're in this time of change where so much of our familiar world is getting dismantled. In a sense, one way to put it, from a huge perspective, is that we're coming to the close of what we could think of as the fossil age, the age of people of the earth, when everything we needed and all of our resources came from beneath our feet, from the earth. the fossil age. And we're shifting to the solar age, SOLAR, where it's possible to think about what's out there, what's in the invisible world, what are the resources in the world of molecules and energy and atoms and quantum physics. What does this realm have to offer? What are the possibilities? Possibilities in terms of technology, in terms of even multidimensional travel. When you look at the fossil age, this is an age in which we have defined ourselves by five senses, by what we could touch and taste, smell, feel, hear, that this was how we defined reality. And so the visions that people had, if you look back at what we call visionaries, the explorers, the pioneers, the people who wanted to see what's beyond the next horizon, were driven to explore the world they could see, the world they could see. But honestly, in entering the nuclear age, we entered the realm that we couldn't see, that we can't see. It's pure power. Energy is pure power. It's the realm of light. It's and from this, obviously, we got nuclear power and the capacity to destroy ourselves at the blink of an eye. But the other side of that, what is possible, is that we could envision a world that is solarized, that this endless, boundless power from the sun and from the what physics refer to as dark matter, this world that is around us, this world, your internet, the way in which you intuitively communicate, the world you cannot see, but is more real than the world you can. In a sense, I mean, a visionary is able to comprehend that the physical world is like the caboose on the train, and the engine is the world of energy that shapes the world of form. Because it's a law of physics. Thought comes before form. So this world of energy shapes the world of form in which we live in, and it shapes the world of events, and it's almost an incomprehensible model of creation unless and until you actually apply it to yourself. And you realize that you can't even get dressed in the morning without first imagining what you're going to wear. Everything takes place in the energy world. And then you go to your closet and you pull out a sweater and you pull out a pair of jeans and you pull out your socks. But you have first imaged it. Everything comes from that world of imagination. And the boundaries of our imagination, if we looked at the solar world that we're going into and realize its evolution is pushing us that way, that in this world where maybe power is endless, that there are no limits to the resources of the sun, that there are no limits to the resources of energy, I think that that's the world we're going into. I think, we've started out with solar panels and whatever. And for those people who have the visionary entrepreneur, they're truly pursuing this with knowing that it is inevitable, maybe not in our generation, but in the generations to follow, the world will be solarized. The crisis at the ground level, of course, is the oil dollar and how our economy is set up on fossil finances. And that's a real genuine blockade, and how to convert fossil to solar. But you can't stop that it's happening, and it is happening. And so the visionary is able to imagine what is possible without being burdened by. But if we pursue this, if we pursue solarized medicine, if we pursue solarized energy, would it then have a way of um, healing the earth of its depletion of resources? Would it have a way? Can you imagine this? Can you envision this? That if we looked at solar energy as and the possibilities of what is in the energy world, all we have yet to discover, and because it's endless, would that influence in any way famine? The famines of the would we be able to supply more food? Would and here's a visionary thing that we and look at it in your own life. You can only create what you can imagine. If you can't imagine, you can't do it. If you can't imagine, you cannot do it. So I ask you to sit down and have a discussion with your imagination and the parameters you may have put around your imagination. Like that's not how often you might say to yourself, that's not possible. That's not possible. And I think, back on my career as a medical intuitive when I first started out and all the, oh God, all the many times people would say, well, how can you do a reading on someone? I mean, they're here and they're there and just, they didn't understand anything. And I realized that they were so unimaginative and they were so gripped in the world of form and so intensely located in their five senses that it didn't even occur to them. It couldn't occur to them that a human being has a multi-sensory system and that multi-sensory system operates on the laws of light. So our body operates on the laws of matter, but our energetic system, our soul, operates on the laws of light. And that these, while the laws are identical, cause and effect, action and reaction, gravity, how they express themselves in the different dimension of light or the different dimension of form. For example, the law of gravity. The law of gravity. Everybody knows that law. We jump, we fall. Everything goes down. It's as simple as that. But in the law of light, gravity works with you in how it is that you give power to something. You give weight to it. You give form to it. This is the power of choice. You decide, is this possible or is it not possible? The power of every one of your words is like a weight in you that forms the world you see. That forms the world you see. Is it, this is such a simple example. I have a friend who was a cook on a cruise, not a cruise ship, but those small little yachts. Is there such a thing as a small yacht? But she was a cook on a yacht, and from that, through her years of cooking for people, she just developed the capacity to see what others cannot see when you open the refrigerator. So when I would open the refrigerator and I'd say, "There's nothing in here for dinner. We got to go shopping." She opens it and says, "Oh, are you kidding? I can do this, 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 this." Her imagination had taken off the parameters that mine still had on. I was still looking through the lens of, well, I've got to see the chicken, or I have to see this, or I have to see that. And she could look at everything in like an alchemist visionary. Take whatever was in my refrigerator, the vegetables, this, and convert it into, we got a casserole, we've got this, you got any rice? Poof. Okay? Imagination. And it so depends on you examining your imagination and thinking, how do I limit myself? The same thing with solving your problems. Bringing the visionary to that and thinking, if I look through just my five senses, I'll never get out of this mess, or it's going to take forever, or whatever. But if you kick into, wait a minute, there's got to be a different way to envision this, use the word, to envision this situation. And if I can envision it differently, different solutions will occur to me. This is the genius of the creative nature of your soul. If you can envision differently, then different visions start to pour into you. You attract them. So if, for example, in the world of form, in the fossil world, we say, oh, there's famine and we're running out of food and all this, and all those people, and they'll never be fed, and oh my God, and then we turn people into enemies because of that. But in the solar world, if we thought, you know what, there's probably a million ways to produce nutrition that we're not even tapping into. We have to not be afraid to take care of other people. We have to change the rules that we envision life based on boundaries and nations and who gets to live and who doesn't, and all the way that we think in the fossil world, because we're so territorial. But you can't be territorial with the sun. You can't be territorial with energy. It affords this absolute abundance of saying, if you can envision taking care of the whole, then you have ideas about how to do that. That's the visionary. That's the real powerhouse visionary that can see what has not been seen before, but it requires the dismantling of fears and limitations that have been promoted again and again and again in our fossil world, because it's the world of taking. I have to take my little piece of earth. I have to store away my piece of earth. I have to save it. And there's only so much earth, and so they can't be on my piece of earth. We forget how very short life is, don't we? We forget that we just simply one day are not here anymore. And it's as simple as that. And that I think that the greatest contribution we can make is to think, how can I envision? What am I capable of doing? How broad, how wide, how outrageously can I think? Can I imagine? And apply it to things in your personal life. I mean, apply it to how you treat yourself, how you think, how you problem solve within your practice being a visionary that way. Take out the vocabulary of limitations and put in words that sparkle with possibility, probability, endless creativity. And don't think like a five sensory creature, because you're not. You are a multi-sensory individual that has endless capacities, your solar self. And dare I say, SOLAR and SOULAR, the self that is your soul, has so many possibilities, so many endless gifts. So while I think some people are born with the visionary, I think we all have the capacity to envision. I mean, not everybody is a Steve Jobs or who is that other guy? Bill Gates. Those people that could envision a kind of a technology that was unheard of before, unheard of, and that they could imagine it. And they could imagine the unimaginable. But you can apply that same incredible power to how you deal with what's in your refrigerator, to how you deal with, how do I solve this? How do I talk to this problem? How do I heal? How do I heal? What could I envision myself doing that would help me to heal? That's how you use this power. And just as an aside, part of that includes that you put in visionary vocabulary in your head, that you take out words that disempower you, that limit the scope of your imagination. It also brings you to look at the fear you have of seeing other people getting empowered and how terrifying that is for human beings. It's just terrifying. Do you know, and it's really true, one of the great passages that we go through in our spiritual inner work and our inner life is that we all have to confront our capacity or our fear of empowering other people. And it's one thing to give to charity and walk away because you haven't really changed anything. It's another thing to start using the gifts of your soul to envision what you could do for someone else, or to see someone else through that lens of what is possible for that person. What kind of support do they need to get to that place? Maybe a supportive word, maybe encouragement. What kind of gift of my soul can I give to them to solarize them, to empower them? Think about things in that language. That's the capacity we have, and it's quite profound. It's absolutely profound. And I'm telling you, you'll discover a very different capacity in yourself. You'll discover your solar self. And it's in boundless gifts that it brings to you when you dismantle your fossil vocabulary and limitations and the fear of losing your little corner of earth, and realize that's just propaganda. That's just, why are we so afraid to envision a world where everybody is taken care of? Not a world full of crazy ass billionaires, but a world where we're not afraid to see other people live. Okay. Oh, and by the way, there are, negative visionaries. I mean, big, huge. I consider Putin one, and all of these people that envision a world that they can control, where the object is to control the population, to control people. These people are visionary dictators, tyrants, and I don't need to go down the list of that. But I do wonder so very often, why is it that a human being would want to envision controlling others? To what what is the point? And you look through history, and everybody who's ever done it, from Napoleon to Genghis Khan to Alexander the Great, to just go wherever you want in history, but inevitably they die. They all die, and their little kingdoms just go. Nobody can take the goods of the earth with them. It's those who envision what's possible for others. What can I contribute? And it doesn't matter if that contribution is as small as I've decided to upgrade my cooking skills, to envisioning how do I solve this problem, to how do I deal with this health crisis. It's the visionary in you. And while not everybody has sacred visions or this, that, it really is a matter, I think, of unlocking in us our fear we have of the consequence of being a visionary, that it brings change and it starts change. And I think that one of the traits that real visionaries have, and whether you look at business or science or medicine or whatever, is that they want to initiate positive change. Okay, everybody, I'll leave you with that, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.